Cool. I can see the Columbia River from here.
Canada. If you're not riding in southern BC, you're missing out on a lot. There's a lot more Canada than just Whistler and North Shore, though. There's like thousands of miles of Canada from coast to coast. And you know what else? The Columbia River starts in Canada. If you just keep driving through eastern Washington and go way high up the Columbia River, there's a little town called Rossland right across the northern border of the United States. And just outside that little town is a little trail called Seven Summits. Well, it's not so little. It's 28 kilometers. There's also like 1,300 meters of climbing. That's 4,500 feet if you're a stupid American. And that's one way. So you're going to hire a shuttle because you're not climbing 3,000 meters today. That's like 10,000 feet. But hiring a shuttle means you've got to get up early and behave yourself.
So you've got plenty of room. Make sure your hose is closed.
So much double entendre. Oh, dude, I forgot my selfie stick.
The shuttle picks you up at the end of the trail where you're going to leave your car, and then the shuttle takes you here to the beginning of the trail where the ride begins. Slick. Anyhow, a short distance from the trailhead, there's this neat little ski cabin. Kinda makes me want to come here in the winter. The guys decided they needed to check out the facilities.
Wait, what the? Okay, I don't know this expression.
Oven mitting?
No.
Oven mitting is when you take the toilet paper and just like wrap it around your hand like an oven mitt. You're just wasting TP. Yeah.
Okay.
That's oven mitting.
Anybody got a magazine?
So, moving right along, the starting elevation for this ride is just a little over 1,524 meters, or 5,000 feet if you're an American. You'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it. Unless you're from, like, Colorado or something. The trail starts as a pretty brisk climb, like it gains 609 meters in the first 8 kilometers. That's 2,000 feet in the first 5 miles, which, come to think of it, would feel downright gradual if it weren't for the elevation and that most Canadian of features, the granite poking out of the trail surface in all the weirdest spots at all the weirdest angles. It's that granite that gives Canadian trails their character. Remember the climb up Yummy Nummy over at Whistler? No? Well, go ride Whistler so that we can have a common frame of reference. Anyway, it's like that. The first views come at an outcropping just a couple miles or so from the start. If you showed up to this ride in the fall, or like late summer or early fall, there is like a metric butt ton of huckleberries up here. You should totally be here for the views, but there are in fact a lot of huckleberries. Anyway, other than some steep sections you'll have to walk the bike up if you're a mere mortal, as well as lots of jagged granite, the climb continues through a bunch of really little trees with roots all over the place. There are a few water crossings here, right where you don't need them, because your hydration bladder should mostly be still full at this point, because you're still really close to the beginning of the ride. The higher you go, the slower you'll want to ride, though, because the scenery just keeps getting better and better, and the trees give way to as the trees give way to alpine conditions. After about 8 kilometers, or 5 miles if you're an American, you'll arrive at the first real viewpoint, which is an outcropping among the trees that affords a nice view down into the valley below. I don't think you can quite see the river from here, but you can definitely see into the United States from here. If you look really closely, you might be able to see our embarrassingly oafish border patrol looking back at you. Anyway, stop here and have a snack. Have lunch. Your first descent is ahead of you. But there is some quid pro quo getting to that descent, because from this point forward, this excursion becomes a ridge ride in the most classical of ridge ride traditions. It makes sense to kind of slow down and really take this place in at this point. From here until the more significant descent, the trail meanders up and down in elevation as it reveals all of what is objectively the best scenery on the entire ride. So hang out, just hang out, sit down and look and listen. You're at around 2,200 feet. You're at around, 2,200 meters now, which is about 7,200 feet. That's a full 365 meters higher than the timberline on Mount Hood. I'll let you do your own conversion on that. Anyway, hang out here and just look around carefully. The landscape tells stories if you listen long enough. From here, you can see all the way into the town of Trail. You can definitely see the Columbia River from here. You can also see America from here too, if that was important to you. But in all seriousness, this is the most ridiculously, unbelievably, out of this world gorgeous part of the trail. You'll really enjoy taking the opportunity to just hang out. I know we sure did. From here, the first descent begins, which is totally fun until it's not. It's probably the smoothest descent of them all, and it's really short, and then it ends abruptly with a punchy climb, and then it sort of up hills again. The trail does have quite a bit of descent, but it's bureaucratic descent. There's always little climbs, rocks, twists, turns. Getting down this hill feels a little like applying for a business license to open a restaurant. It's a long time until things get going. But don't fret, because there's always more arresting scenery to come.
That's so neat. There's a little house up there.
Yeah, there's Old Glory Mountain. There's a pretty cool fire lookout up there. You don't have time to hike to it though, but it does look pretty awesome. Actually, you know what? Let's just hang out here and enjoy this view again. This is so great. Just, peer around the valley a little bit. I wonder how all those dead trees got there. They're all the same age. There is a little more climbing after this view. We'll be going downhill soon, I promise. Yeah, here we go. Now we're going downhill. This is certainly the prettiest section of downhill, but yeah, you're going to have to stop and gawk again after only like a minute of it. Have a little tea party. Talk about stuff.
What is that?
So that's the trail up to the thing.
Lightning electrocution hazard.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you had to go down into the crook, or down in the valley, and then all the way back up there.
Man, if the guys were here, I would lobby hard to walk up there.
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't have it in me. But dude, because there's the trail. Okay, it goes way over there, and then it comes up this shoulder.
Yeah, you're walking that. You probably gain the ridge line right there and just take the ridge all the way up. I bet that's spectacular.
Dude, if you hike all the way up there, you deserve to stay in there.
Yeah.
Don't walk up there. You don't have time. Okay, I swear, we're getting to the downhill part of this ride. It's there, I promise. It's totally a thing. Well, anyway, we got about 2 minutes of downhill until we stopped again.
Well, I'm going to have to look at that bird.
Which bird?
Well, he's up there. It's hard to see at the moment. It's a bigger, there he went.
Oh.
Maybe it was just a blue jay.
Here we go. The downhill section. As promised, it's rowdy granite. It's very Canadian. I'm telling you, if you've ever ridden at Whistler, you know what I'm talking about. This isn't a beginner downhill by any means, and this isn't even the hardest one on the ride. I was stopping to check my shocks because I thought they were locked out. They weren't. It's just that chundery. But man, after all you've been through to get here, if you've got the skill to enjoy it, you're going to love this. You're going to love this 10 minutes of happy place so much. Yeah, it took you like 2.5 hours to get here, but this 10 minutes worth of 300 meters of descent is totally worth all the pain. Yeah, that's like 1,000 feet. It's not that much, but there's more to come. So eat lunch here because you've got another climb and another descent and another climb and a descent and another smaller climb before a bigger descent that has a bunch of little climbs in it still in front of you. Also, if you are feeling like totally spent, you can take the bailout trail here all the way down to the highway if you want to be a loser. Keep an eye out for like really cool mushrooms on the next climb, because some of them have maggots in them. Just think, there's some extremely specific species of fly that lays its eggs in mushrooms. What a weird world we live in. Anyway, you climb and descend and climb and stuff. This is a ridge ride after all, until reaching this ski resort. Cool, it's a ski resort. There also start to be more hikers as the trail gets closer-ish to town, or lodges or something. I don't know, people. There's more people on this edge of the trail. There's a spring box right after the ski resort. Now you know. You know that there's water on this far end of the trail. So I guess you can just slurp freely all through the first part of the ride, and be confident in the knowledge that you'll be able to refill your Camelback. Even still, so you still need to bring a 3-liter Camelback because there is no water on the ridge. But anyway, it was very thoughtful of whoever put this spring box here. There's more climbing after the spring, then the trail crosses a road, then it climbs more and descends more and climbs more, and basically it still mostly goes downhill. Fortunately, there are still quite a few nifty exposures on this end. Lots to see. You get to see the 7 summits this trail traverses from like hundreds of different angles. This crumbly hill here is the last exposed summit on the ride. Have another snack. Enjoy yourself. You can see Lake Roosevelt from here. Yep, there's it's still the United States you're looking at south of you. It's that close to the border. And from here it's
false start.
More climbing. Then it gets to these switchbacky descents, but as cluttered as these descents seem, the locals really have put a lot of work into this section of trail. A lot of the rocks in these rock gardens have been very lovingly, nicely arranged, like little paving stones. The care with which this was done is really quite evident. It's very much appreciated. Trust me, you'll You'll appreciate it. You'll notice. The forest starts getting thicker here too. I mean, obviously, the trail is dropping in elevation. It's kind of fun to watch the climate zones change as you descend, and you'll have a good close look at that change in ecosystems, because this is a pretty technical descent with plenty more of that descent bureaucracy I was talking about earlier. The descent gets narrow and switchbacky again as you get still closer to the end. There's also a lot more dirt over here, which means there's a lot more plant life encroaching on the trail as well. After the narrow switchbacks, the trail takes on kind of a Moab with granite feel as you encounter more gnarly rock slabs and fun features made of rock. Just like Moab, there are a lot of square edges that look unrideable that are totally rollable. Just let it roll and you'll be fine. Really, the most globally descriptive noun for this trail is diversity. There's a lot of diversity on this ride. It's hard not to encounter a lot of diversity on a giant ridge ride like this. It's famous for many reasons. Being easy, though, is not one of the reasons it's famous. There were even sections of this that kind of reminded me of riding an Oak Ridge, like this really scary narrow bench where the trail just sort of becomes a hillside spontaneously without warning. But overall, the character of the landscape is just so different down here. It's like suddenly entering into a whole different climate zone, because it is entering into a whole different climate zone. There's more dirt, the trees are bigger, the grass is thicker and taller, and everything is just a little bit greener. The trail surface is also quite a bit more shreddable over here, as there's more dirt on top of the granite. But it's here, as you get closer to the end of the trail, that you really begin to reckon with probably its most important feature, and the reason you want to come back and ride it again. It's just that this trail is a little bit much, but no part of it is not worth seeing. It's all worth seeing. You want to see the whole trail. Everything is amazing from the beginning to end. It's epic, but still, it's just a bit much. Like, it's too much to take in. Like, you've done a lot at this point, and it's not so much the physical exertion that's gotten to you, it's the fact that you've seen an awful lot of epic in just a few hours. It's kind of overwhelming. It's overwhelming in a good way, though. When you get to this road crossing, technically the Seven Summits portion of the ride is over, but you're still 700 meters above the Columbia River. That's 2,200 feet if you're a lazy American slob who can't understand metric. You'll lose that 700 meters over 6.2 kilometers on what's called the Dudney Trail, which is classic Canadian Blue Line, meaning that it wants you to go way faster than you're going to be comfortable going. Okay, it was way faster than I was comfortable going. After all that epicness, I was not ready for a bonus 700-meter descent. Anyway, it goes straight down the damn hill with tons of granite in the tread and a few jibs off to the side that you can take if you're crazy. My wrists hurt just thinking about this trail. You are getting closer to town here, though. We could tell we were closer to town because we were passing under power lines and just more civilization type stuff. And, you know, we came across some dudes lost dogs on the trail. We couldn't give them water. They were afraid of us. But anyhow, we got done and the van was waiting for us. I could really, Dudney, I could write a separate review of this trail all on its own. I'm not going to, but I could. That's the thing. The last trail that's really just, you're using it as a transition just to get back to your car is worthy of a review by itself. That's how epic this place is. Anyway, if you're looking to see another part of Canada, you need to check this out. I mean, yeah, it's a long drive from everywhere, which is what kind of makes it seem sort of exclusive, but you've got, Canada's a rad place. But you should have already known that. But if you live in the Northwest and, you've already been to Whistler like 30 times, heck, even if you've just been to Whistler once, even if you've never been to Whistler, if you live in Northwest and you're anywhere near here and if you have the gumption, you need to give this one some consideration.